Allison here. Today I want to discuss acceptance versus despair, or more accurately, despair versus acceptance. They can feel very similar in the moment of feeling them, but their outcomes are very different. And I want to talk about these outcomes and I want to talk about this experience through the lens of Supernatural, the CW show that was on the air from 2005 to 2020. I am a ginormous Supernatural fan. I wanted to watch it for years. I would always see commercials of it when I was watching Arrow or Flash, and tried to get in on the pilot, and it freaked me out. So I jumped to episode 2. Finally went back and watched episode 1 after I had gotten to season 2, and have been in love with it ever since. I am so grateful for a coworker who has watched it and will let me talk about it all the time. And so I want to bring some of the observations that she's been getting every day at work as I watch more and more. And I'd like to share them here because I think that this is a very solid example of the healing process. There will be spoilers. So I've only watched up to season 12, but I know how it ends because if you're even sort of interested in Supernatural, you know how it ends. And if you don't know how it ends, please go finish all 327 episodes and then come back. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So please leave a comment down below. So here's my slightly controversial opinion. I think that the ending of Supernatural is okay, is solid, and still allows for free will and for growth. Now, I've watched a lot of videos at this point because I ended up watching the final clip of Supernatural without having seen the rest of it. I'm still a little sketchy on the full episode, so we're only touching on the actual spoiler, death scene and the heaven scene. That's it. I don't know the rest of it. I'm waiting to watch the full thing until I get there. And I've watched a variety of video essays talking about how the end of Supernatural destroys the idea of free will. That the whole point of this whole show is free will, and how Sam and Dean are always choosing to bust fate. They're always choosing to go against what is meant to be and to be themselves. And that is true. That is a very large part of what Supernatural is. Family is everything. Basically, it's just Sam and Dean for most of it. Cash shows up, Jack shows up, a couple people come and dance, Bobby definitely. So family is everything, but at the end of the day, it's just the brothers, and that's what they've got. Now, I could do another video about Dean and Castiel if y'all want. I've been deep diving into their story a lot. But for today, I just want to talk about Sam and Dean and how, contrary to what an essay on free will talks about, which, if I remember, I will link in the comments, is that this ending does actually work. I know Jensen Ackles, when he first read the script, had a hard time with it. He had a really hard time with it. And his character dies, Dean dies, and throughout the entire series, he is talking about how he's going to go out in a blaze of gunfire. He's just going to go out in this huge fight, and that's the only way he's going to go. But Sam sees a way out, and Sam can have a life. And so to get to the end of the series, and Dean dies and Sam gets a life, does feel like a ginormous betrayal. And I might feel more of that once I get through 12, 13, 14, and 15, especially once they beat up Chuck. But in this moment, watching Dean slowly evolve, watching Dean slowly change from I have to save my brother at all costs to he gets his choices. In season 11, when Sam says he's going to take the mark, Dean lets him. Now, mind you, do the writers then completely ruin it and the mark all of a sudden is gone and they move on? Yes. Does that annoy me? Yes. But that's okay, because he at least started making the choice. He finally started allowing himself feel that people do get to make their own choices. I know that the arc through season 12 is that he starts letting Sam take point on more things, and he does open up more to Cass, and he apologizes to Cass. I know sort of these key points, and so based on those key points, we come to the final episode, and that he practices acceptance. And that for me is supernatural through a healing lens. The circumstances stay the same, but his attitude changes. In season 2, when Dean makes his first deal, and he makes a deal with that crossroad demon for a year because he has to save Sam, there's this beautiful and painful moment when he's talking to Bobby, and Bobby's like, don't you realize, well, Dean says, like, I have to have him, like, I'm not worth anything without him. And Bobby's like, you idiot, like, do you think that your worth only comes from protecting Sam? And in his mind, that's what it is, because trauma is a thing, and his father taught him that his entire job, his entire life, was to protect Sam. And so when he couldn't protect Sam in that moment, it didn't make sense to him. He felt like his life was over. And I can totally, like, that makes total sense to me, because if you are told something over and over and over again, you tend to believe it. So then season 3, we see him dying, Sam trying to save him, making deals with demons and doing dumb stuff. Dean dies. Season 4, Dean is brought back. Season 5 is sort of where the shoe's on the other foot, and Sam says that he's going to die. And he sacrifices himself. He lets Lucifer in because he was the one that let Lucifer out, because he made a dumb deal with the demon in season 4. So then Sam has to fix it because it's all Sam's fault. And so he's the one that has to sacrifice himself, and he has to fix it. And so in the first 5 seasons, you just watch them go back and forth on this. I have to fix it. This is my fault. This is on me. And that is the very definition of despair. And it can look like acceptance. They're taking accountability. They're realizing what the status quo is. But they think that because of one choice that they made or an experience that they are having, that is what it will be for forever. And there is a beautiful scene later on. I cannot for the life of me, I don't know when it is because I haven't seen it yet. But Dean is about to go check himself in the bottom of the ocean or some such thing. And Sam goes, don't. Like, that might be, you might not have any options today, but what about tomorrow? And that, I think, is the powerful theme of season 15 and what they're doing to practice acceptance. Because all of season 5, and then Cass in season 6 and 7, and then the trials in season 8, this whole dance, and then the darkness, the mark of Cain and the darkness 9 through 11, like, it's on me. It's my fault. And so they're taking accountability, and they're little a accepting that it's on them and they need to fix it. But it's from this lens of despair. I did this wrong. It's all on me. It's always going to be this way. It's always going to be my fault. And so I have to fix it. From Dean's perspective, it's I have to save Sammy. I don't have any worth. I don't have any meaning if I can't save him because I'm useless otherwise. And when we're in the midst of trauma, that is very much our experience of this is my fault. In certain circumstances, that's what we've been told over and over and over again. If people have a reaction to me, if people engage with me cruelly, that's my fault. I did this to myself. And so I have to martyr myself to fix it. And we just get in this headspace that it's always going to be this way, and it's always on us. As we go through this healing journey, we begin to see that there are outside factors. Dean and Sam come to realize that their father was crap, and they have a really weird relationship with their mother, and they realize that they didn't have a perfect upbringing. Cass's goodbye to Dean is that everything you did was out of love, and that he's not just daddy's blunt little instrument, but he's always acting from a place of love. Now, we can have toxic love, and the codependence that happens in Supernatural is terrifying, and I think that's where the acceptance piece comes from in the final episode. Now, this is not an optimal ending, but it is an okay ending based on their growth. And I'll get to that in a second. My optimal ending would be that Dean gets the job at the firehouse and he still gets the adrenaline rush, he gets the excitement, but without the world being dependent on him, because he does care about people. Throughout the entire show, we see him caring about people. With Claire, he develops this fantastic relationship, trying to mentor her and support her. Jody, that's a beautiful relationship. Ben, there's so many moments where he steps up to help and care about people. And so I think it would be awesome for him to be able to have that experience. And I love that he would go off and do this thing totally away from hunting, and that Sam stays in hunting and he takes up witchcraft. Like, he continues learning witchcraft, and he continues as a man of letters, and he's leading groups of hunters. Like, I feel like that's both of them coming into their own. Sam realizing he can have fulfillment in that life, and that it doesn't always have to be despair and abandonment and loss of hope. And Dean being able to step away, realizing that there's so much life outside of hunting, and that there's still, I do say adrenaline rushing. He's an adrenaline junkie, we're going to be honest, but I think he could do it in healthier ways. So that's my optimal ending for them. But as we know, that's not what they got. But what they did get was acceptance. You might be wondering, what's the difference between the end of the end of 7, when Dean gets sent to purgatory, and the final season? It's because they finally get to have the conversation. At the end of season 7, Sam just washed his hands and ran off. Mind you, there was a dog in Amelia. I have mixed feelings. He just washed his hands and he ran away. But in 15, they finally get to have a discussion. Dean gets to accept that there might be something better than this hunting life, and that he can let go. He practices acceptance that Sammy is all grown up, and that he can go and do his own thing, and that he will be okay. And so instead of this despair thing of, Sam's not going to make it without me, I have to protect him, or Sam's, the world is ending unless I save it, and Dean, you can't save it all the time. Instead of this despair and tit for tat, their relationship is incredibly transactional, because they don't see the other person as a person. They see the other person as someone who has to be saved. And so in the final episode, they get to look at each other as they are. Dean, the older brother that has fought a good fight, and that it's okay for him to go. And Sam, who has fought a good fight, and I hope will continue doing what he's good at, and that he can be okay on his own. And both of them accept that there is something outside of what always was, and that there can be new and beautiful and wonderful things. So, what's the difference? The difference is despair says that what is today will always be, and it will always end badly. So yeah, you're practicing acceptance that it's going to suck, but it's that what is today will always be. And that's what we see from seasons 1 through 12 so far. Yes, we're going to fight and we're going to do our best to win, but there's always going to be collateral damage. And there's this little a acceptance of there will always be collateral damage. In the final episode, there is capital A acceptance that maybe life can just be okay. There will be ups, there will be downs, but there are good things to come. This might be what happens today, but the hope of the end of season 15 is that they're together in the end. I also still think that Dean and Cass find each other, because there is a reference that Cass and Jack make heaven better. So I live in hope for that one. But it's the practice that there can be more tomorrow or the next day. So as trauma survivors, we often feel despair. We feel trapped in the cycle that it will always be the same way. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Acceptance, and we're always pushing our feelings down, because if we feel those things, we will be overwhelmed by those things and we won't be able to survive. And so we just push everything down. So and I would say that despair is this overwhelming feeling of giving up, of hopelessness, and fighting not to feel those things, because it's just the way that it will always be. And acceptance is allowing ourselves to feel those things and letting them process and release and let go. So my invitation for you is to just look. Are you in despair, fighting your feelings and pushing them down? Or do you feel that you can feel that today is just what you feel today, and that there could be something different down the road? We might only have one option today in this moment, but there will be other days and other experiences later. So, is that my optimal ending to Supernatural? Heck nah. But there is hope in acceptance, and that they did finally learn and grow, that it didn't have to be saving each other. It didn't have to be, I have to fix it to be all right. It was, sometimes things are the way they are. And Sammy's words, "It's okay for you to go now," are powerful for us. Are there memories, are there experiences that you can feel what's there, and then look at them kindly and with love and say, "It's okay, you can go now." Thank you for joining me in this discussion of despair or acceptance, supernatural through a healing lens. And I hope to see you next time. If you found this intriguing, please drop in the comments below what else you'd like me to talk about. Or really what I mean is, what other healing principles do we find in Supernatural? Because there is a whole bunch of healing that takes place and a whole lot of feeling. And I'll have you guys join me next time. Bye! Oh, and like and subscribe below. Bye.